Sandy Hackett was one of 3 children of legendary comedian Buddy Hackett, and he's the only one who followed in his father's footsteps by stepping onto the stage. Today, Sandy makes a living reminiscing about his late father to large crowds. Join Factsverse as Buddy Hackett's son addresses the rumors about fatherhood. There were few comedians who took performing more seriously than Buddy Hackett, but there was something Buddy cared about even more than stagecraft. While he's best remembered for his comedy, his 3 children best remember him as an excellent father. Buddy may have liked to paint himself as not the sharpest tool in the shed when he was in front of an audience, but his kids had a lot of respect for him. According to his son, Sandy Hackett, Buddy was a lot smarter than he let on. He was also very strict, but only because he cared so much about his kids. Sandy has claimed there was one instance where he got a speeding ticket as a teen and his dad wouldn't let him drive for a month. Sandy also alleges that his father's parental instincts were so strong they branched out to other kids. Sandy recalls one memory where his father brought one of his young drivers home and started letting him live in the house as if he was one of his own children. This 18-year-old driver was attempting to escape communist Hungary, and Buddy apparently had a lot of sympathy for his struggle. Buddy also ended up putting the boy through college. Buddy was born in Brooklyn, and he worked hard to get to the top of the entertainment industry. Like many comedians, Buddy first learned his trade while working in the Catskills Mountains. Buddy first learned his trade while working there as a tumbler, a person tasked with entertaining guests at a resort. Buddy learned how to keep the crowd hanging on to his every word. After getting some good experience in the Catskills, Buddy headed to LA and started making a name for himself. It was during these years that he met his wife. Buddy was married to his wife until his death. Entertainers are often notorious for not being able to stay married for very long, but this wasn't the case with Buddy. If Sandy Hackett claims his father was a man who put family first, one needs to look no further than the length of his marriage for proof. Buddy married his wife, Sherry Cohen, in 1955, and they remained married until Buddy's death in 2003. That's nearly 5 decades. Buddy loved his wife, and they both loved entertaining guests at their home. Buddy Hackett was a beloved figure in the entertainment industry, and everyone who worked with him had fond things to say about him. He maintained close friendships with some of his brightest contemporaries, including Lucille Ball, George Burns, Bob Newhart, and Don Rickles. Buddy and Sherry made their home in Beverly Hills and would invite their friends over whenever they got the chance. Sometimes, Sherry would get so starstruck by the surplus of entertainers, she would ask Buddy if she could record the social banter. Of course, the entertainers didn't want their private lives made public. But they would, however, let Sherry take pictures. Many great memories were created during these times. Not only were they great memories for Buddy and Sherry, but also the 3 kids. Being the family-friendly people they were, the couple didn't make their kids hide away when friends came over. The social gatherings were clean, and Sandy Hackett has some especially fond memories of them. Sandy followed in his father's footsteps. Given that Sandy was his father's son and spent his formative years around so many talented comedic performers, it's no surprise he went on to become a comedian in his own right. One of his most cherished memories of his father is the time he told him he was going to follow in his footsteps by becoming a comedian. According to Sandy, Buddy tried his best to make light of the touching moment with comedy, but his son could see his father was truly touched. Buddy jokingly asked Sandy whether he was going to use the last name Hackett in his own stage name. When Sandy said he was going to, Buddy sarcastically expressed disdain by insinuating his son was going to ruin the legacy of the name. But Buddy's true feelings were visible via the tears welling up in his eyes. According to Sandy, Buddy was much more than just a father to him. The late comedian was also his best friend. Today, Sandy carries on the torch of his father by performing comedy. But he has also been dedicating his time to a stage show called My Buddy. The name pays homage to the fact that Buddy was a father as well as a friend, and the show consists of Sandy's memories of him. He performs the show and his wife directs it. Sandy's wife is named Lisa Dawn Miller, who is a celebrity child in her own right. Her father was songwriter Ron Miller, who wrote the song For Once in My Life, which was popularized by Stevie Wonder. Charmingly, Sandy and Lisa have as much love for each other's famous fathers as they do for their own. According to Sandy, there's going to come a time when Ron Miller is more recognized for his work. The main draw of going to see Sandy Hackett perform My Buddy, of course, is the opportunity to hear personal stories about the late Buddy Hackett. But there's also the matter that Sandy has become a pretty entertaining performer in his own right. He got the idea to come up with a stage show about his father shortly after his father's death. According to Sandy, a friend encouraged him to start compiling memories of his father for the purposes of a possible book. While this book may still eventually happen, Sandy had the revelation soon afterwards that the best way for him to convey these stories to an audience was through the medium his father had worked in. Since Sandy was already an experienced performer himself, the creation of the show was a no-brainer. Sandy considered his father to be his buddy. Sandy Hackett's show about his father is filled with stories. He has so many great ones, he doesn't even perform the same ones every show. Sometimes he'll be in the middle of a performance when something will spark a memory that he feels he has to include. This leads to him going on an impromptu tangent that makes every performance of the show unique. Besides Buddy himself, as well as the cast of his close and personal contemporaries we've mentioned, other notable figures that factor into these stories include Jerry Lewis, George Burns, and Johnny Carson. Buddy Hackett grew up in Brooklyn, and his birth name was Leonard Hacker. Early on, he performed under the name Butch Hacker. According to Buddy, he was given the name because of his harsh looks. An NBC executive suggested he take on the stage name Buddy Hackett. Of course, Buddy is a bit more inviting than Butch. Once he settled on this stage name, it was only a matter of time before Buddy took the world by storm. His signature slurred speech came as a result of Bell's palsy, which he suffered from as a child. Buddy was truly one of a kind. He had served in the U.S. Army before making a name for himself. He joined in 1942, immediately after high school. He served for 3 years before becoming known as an entertainer. Some of Buddy's most memorable performances include his turns in the classic films The Music Man and It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. In 1959, Buddy made an appearance on the Western TV series The Rifleman that was notable for the fact that he portrayed the father of a character played by an actor 4 years his senior. Buddy was wise beyond his years and exuded it. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know Buddy Hackett was married to the same woman for 50 years? Let us know in the comments section below.